All right, hello everyone, welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. My name is Brogan, and today we are finally back for another chart stream. I don't know why I'm so orange though. Let me change my light quickly, see if it changes anything. I don't know why the filtering's so weird, but hopefully everyone's doing well. That is not the right. My cable is all the way on the other side of my PC. Hold on. Hopefully everyone's doing well. I am gonna stick to my 1 hour today. Okay, it's new me. Okay, I've had a nice break from this. Obviously, we're trying to record some stuff in the trenches. Turn my microphone down a tiny bit. So I haven't been on the charts for a while. Obviously, it's been a lot happening so far. Even within not just since I last did a stream, but even within the last 24 hours. I will show this as well really quickly. We will get onto CoinMarketCap in a second. Let me fix my light. I look absolutely. I look like I'm on Mars. I don't know if this changes. There we go. That's normal light. Hopefully everyone's doing well. I have spent a long time away from the charts. I've missed it. You know, I've really missed doing my stream. I've missed you guys, obviously on Square and YouTube tonight. I've missed you guys. It's been a long time. Okay. Hopefully you're all doing well. I am doing stupendously. You will. But let's not spend too long on the intro, okay? I don't want to. I was already 3 minutes late because basically Binance Square's a bit iffy with the code, so I had to leave it till basically 9 o'clock to actually start the stream. And also I needed my 3-minute, intro. So yeah, I had to start it a bit late. So we're already over by 7 minutes on the over 9 o'clock. So I should just not dilly-dally any longer. Get straight into it. So just to quickly show liquidation data because it's a valuable thing to look at. As we can see. Which is to be expected. Again, since I talked about it, we hit support on the high time frames. Now, what I think my sentiment for today's stream is going to be, we would have been going down if it wasn't for your meddling order blocks, is what I'd say. And you will know what I mean when we go through the stream. You'll know what that means. What the hell is he talking about? Meddling order blocks. What's he talking about? I will show it, obviously, during the stream. So, currently, right now, 24-hour liquidations globally, or between long and shorts, I should say, is $680 million. So pretty healthy. Again, it's pretty good. $530 million long liquidations. Pretty. I can't remember what it was last time I looked. I think this is pretty high. I think this is. What was the value last time I looked at it when it was really high? I think it was. What was it? Oh my god, I will not remember. It's high. I mean, I think that's pretty high. That's a pretty good number. Again, it kind of shows there's clearly been a change in flow to the downside if we're looking at a lot of long liquidations. So anyway, so that is the liquidation data. Going on to CoinMarketCap, we can see 2% down 24 hour on Bitcoin, 128.80. It feels like 2 months ago. Feels like I was talking about Bitcoin and we hadn't even gone down. But 2% down on the 24 hour, 4,300 for Ethereum at 4.22, and 4% down 7-day as well. For Solana, 218, 4.46. So in terms of what I've talked about in terms of us going down and what's happened, the majority of it has been us. We had pretty much across the board, we had Ethereum weekly support, Bitcoin weekly support. We didn't have Solana weekly support, so it kind of makes sense. And I kind of really missed this out when I was talking about this last stream, which obviously was quite a while ago. I did really miss out on talking about what we had on the weekly and really focusing on that more so than anything else. So anyway, we'll obviously get into that when we look at the charts. But 279 for XRP as well. We'll look at XRP in a bit. Sui 339. We came down towards the lower end of the support. We had the midpoint of like the big buy area on like the weekly, and then we came up and then we came down. We're at the buy area, and then we came up again, and now we're coming down. It's all over the place. 6.2 on the 7-day for Sui as well. Going on to Syrup. I did want to talk about this in yesterday's stream. I did look at Syrup potentially having the potential chance of going back upwards again at 39.17 as well. Obviously, don't want to go against the market here, but I do want to obviously just talk about what I see. And again, obviously, I say this on my streams. I can be right, I can be wrong. There's no perfect answer. The CRO, that's one. I was trying to think of the coin. 19.2. So basically, we came up on the daily, and then we started come back down again. Again, the low point of this was about 18 ish cent as well. So about 18 cents. Obviously, I was talking about 17.6. The first target was 22, and then the next target was the area below it. So we came to 22, found a bit of support, not really, obviously long-term support. Came up a bit, then came down again towards 18 cent. Come up towards 19 cent, and now we're starting to come down again. Again, 3.46% down on the 24-hour for CRO as well. Also, with my mic, I put I literally 3 minutes before the stream, I noticed my mic was picking up a fan in the background, so I put a noise gate on. So I don't know if it's sounding weird, so if anyone could tell me how the audio sounds and if it is bad or whatnot, so you know, we will get into that. Sol, come back. I'm interested in your commentary. I will have a look at Sol. So it's normally Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. However, BB did say, could you look at Syrup first? So maybe he's busy. And obviously, I'm a big fan of Maple. And you know what? I thought to switch things up a bit, I would look at Syrup first thing. So I will do that. Obviously, I won't spend as long as Bitcoin, because obviously Bitcoin is just the word sponge itself. So obviously, yeah, but obviously I will quickly look at Syrup first, just because, you know, I thought, you know, why not switch things up? I always do Bitcoin first, so I thought, let's do something else. I don't think there's any other coins I look at which I need percentages for, so I think that's pretty much fine. So regardless of what's going on, obviously we looked at the liquidation data, pretty much, actually, yes, the 24-hour change. So that's not great for the market. I mean, it depends on what you want to happen to the market. You know, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Everything going down, it could be a good thing for some people, could be a bad thing. Obviously, if you're bearish, it's a good thing. If you're not bearish, clearly not. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So apart from this random crap up here, the third place is a stable coin, and then the fourth and the fifth and the sixth, all stable coins, all these stable coins. And then obviously we then finally get to some coins which have slightly not moved down as much, which sit towards you know, basically about 0.62 on the 24-hour. Obviously on the 7-day in terms of going up, there's a few things here. BNB obviously 12.42. You know what I might do? I'm thinking about swapping out, because I don't want to do too many coins per stream, because otherwise I will spend an hour and a half. I already spent an hour and 20 minutes, so I don't want to spend even longer. But I'm thinking about swapping out some of the coins I cover to maybe do something new in case people want to see it. So obviously, you know, if anyone wants any other coins, for example, if it's BNB, maybe a lot of people want BNB, so I could swap out XRP, for example, or I could swap out SUI or whatever, stuff like that. So anyway, continuing. So obviously 7-day up. I want to see who's really lost though. Really painful for some of these. Obviously, pulling a lot of fun. I've only seen this like go up once, and obviously go down. So I don't really care about looking at that. I mean, there's quite a few things here, but anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter. Let's go to the charts. So Syrup first. Now, what we left off with. So this is a very messy chart, and what I will do. I've been doing this recently because I know how messy and horrible and abhorrent my charts can look for people, and you know, it's a thing where. I am aware of the fact that there's a lot of lines. So sometimes I like to just show it without any lines and just talk. So you guys don't have to, you know, have an aneurysm looking at my charts. So the main thing we talked about last stream, obviously I will give a reiteration of this for not just people who are here commonly, but for everybody, because again, I have not been on the stream for quite a while, so I want to kind of give a re-update on what we talked about. So again, we have some TA which we'll go through, especially with like this gap here and this order block here, which we'll talk about it when we get to it. In terms of longer term for Syrup, I want to talk about we had this high to this low. Obviously we talked about the retracements we had for this high to this low, with coming up into the good areas and whatnot. Was it there that I drew it from? It must have been. Anyway, so obviously we were talking about the idea that we were kind of coming down, and the singular target I had was like 38.6. That was the target I wanted so badly. I think it was this low, 38.663-ish. This was a low I wanted to see for so long, and we didn't get it, and I had to wait so long. I had to wait a whole month just to get there, and then finally we hit that low. Finally, coming from the 0.50 mark-ish, 0.52 in this area here. Finally coming from this area towards this low. That was the target I wanted the entire time. I just realized my aircon has fallen out my window, so my room's gonna get very hot in a second. Anyway, so obviously coming upwards, coming to this area, and we wanted to come to that low. That was the one thing we wanted, and then finally we finally tickled past it and obviously started to come upwards again. Just a slow little, a nice simple move downwards, and then we've had a little move upwards, and then we're coming down. So again, it obviously could argue, oh, it's a retracement, oh, it's a reversal, whatever. We'll get into it when we go to the lower time frames. But in terms of just giving a overall talk about this move, now the whole reason of these move downs, again, you move down. Okay, I'm gonna go over here so we don't have to see the abhorrent charts. Okay, you can only see this. Is obviously this is the idea. This is the idea of in a downtrend. Obviously, you want to come past lows, right? You want to continue to go past lows and do new lower lows. So again, in the idea that we have been in this move downwards, again, obviously we didn't print past this or anything, so we're continuing downwards, printing past this low here. Obviously, eventually over here anyway, because again, it does get very sticky with SERP. No pun intended. That was actually not a pun intended in the slightest. I did not mean to say that. But anyway, it does get a bit sticky in terms of there's so many times where we get past the low, but we don't print. But regardless, even if it's not this low, it's these lows back here. We do print past lows. We are in a downtrend. You can clearly see. And I think, it's like, oh, how do I know we're in a downtrend? You can kind of see it, really. Like, you can see, the way we're moving. You can see, especially with this move, it's easy. We have a low, we've printed past it. It's simple. So, the idea is, okay, if we are continuing this, and again, we've talked about the idea that the weekly could potentially, we've had this move upwards, and I know this is the spawning of SERP, and I don't know every bit of price action, but just really looking at the second most candle, being the idea that we have this move upwards and now we're moving downwards slowly, in the idea that we've don't look at the chart. You have to look at the chart, but don't look. In the idea that we have, I've talked about this last stream before maybe, where we have the low to the high, and we're kind of coming down below here. We're just going to find a lower high and come up for SERP. And I am bullish on SERP, and I think it's a great project, and I think SERP can succeed, obviously going forward. So. Again, this is long term. This is the weekly, so bear in mind what's going on. Again, obviously, Pumptober. Hello everybody. We're gonna pump in October. Screw you guys who are thinking you're bearish. Even though I just, I have my opinions. Okay. The idea that we're gonna be coming upwards, and we want to see this go upwards at some point soon. And it being this case, we want to kind of see if that can follow the sentiment in the fact that, okay, we've had this move downwards for quite a while, obviously during basically midpoint of this year, coming upwards towards the start of October, coming to this low, and then the rest of this being a move upwards towards a high. In theory, obviously, SERP, this is the thing about SERP, is it's obviously not as the history of SERP isn't as large as it is for other coins, so we don't have a lot more to go off, but we can still apply the same logic of, okay, we have a low to a high, high, low, high, high, and if we are continuing a larger move upwards for SERP on the grand scheme of things, and I think we can do that. So basing that idea, we can kind of think about multiple things. I don't really care about significant prices here and there. All I would want to focus on is, okay, we have a low to a high. Now, yes, you can consider this low. I don't know. Okay, I don't often draw equilibriums for coins which have data like this. I could probably go to a different chart and look at different data for SERP, and maybe we might find it a bit closer. But I'm just going to go off this, and it might be worse. It might be worse for me. This might actually be bad in terms of in the idea that it's not actually, the low isn't 23.14. It is actually 16, and everything changes, and equilibrium changes, and all these sorts of things. So, you know what, actually, I'm kind of talking to myself here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to see this. Perfect. Okay, so I wanted to see where we've come from and what we're doing. Okay, perfect. But you know what? This is actually a lot better. This is a lot better. I think the reason I don't use MEXC is because it has gaps. I don't really care about gaps. I don't want to see gaps. I really don't want to see gaps. So we can still use the weekly to actually see a bit more of this data. We can actually use this. So what I will do, I'm going to go back to my main chart for SERP. Delete that and go back to MEXC. Okay, here we go. So we can draw the low to the high now perfectly. There we go. So in the idea that we have this move upwards, we have this massive run. Obviously, let's say we did start at 24 cent or 27 cent, whatever. It's simply put, we have that move upwards. We have the high, we have the low, we have the massive move upwards, and now we're retracing. Simply put. So I don't really care about this. We more so care about the initial move up to move down. Now I know you could argue, oh well, certain coins where there's these massive moves, and obviously this is the weekly, and obviously if you take CRO for an example, where we have these massive moves which might not necessarily be just on price action, we're gonna have a deeper retracement than you would think. I get that, but obviously just basing off this. As soon, and obviously there are different areas in between, and yes, obviously we can focus on the blue line, we can focus on all these different lines, but the main focus is as soon as you're getting towards below the midline is when you want to start to look for that low. Now we have only just got here. We've only just got here in here. We missed it here. We missed it here. We've missed it. All these areas, and obviously this area, this was still moving upwards. So we've only just got to it. Now we did have a little bit of a gap here, obviously as we come down the weekly, and we've kind of filled it, and then we've kind of come down again in this candle. We candle by candle basis anyway. So, and this isn't saying we can't come lower and we can't come towards certain areas. And on the weekly, if I had to look at this, I would argue, okay, well, maybe we don't really have much here. I suppose there is this down close, this massive move upwards, and if we draw an area for this candle, then you could maybe argue there is support here, in the sense that we have this down close for these massive up close, and you can see we've been using that midpoint quite nicely. We've been sitting at this support quite a lot, and we've printed this area, just came below here. Maybe on the lower time frames, there's some areas here. Obviously, we've talked about this gap order block area here, which we've come to fill again. We've come to a buy area, support area, whatever. So technically this is a good area. And obviously, regardless of if this is the low or whatever, I do think we are going to go upwards. I just want to really point out the fact that we have actually finally come to a point of equilibrium where we could potentially see that major low. Obviously, this being the weekly support, we can see we're at this weekly support now, trying to hold on a bit here at roughly this midpoint. Anyway, that is just what I wanted to point out quickly on the grander schemes for SERP. So actually talking about SERP on other time frames, I just want to quickly talk about how we're going so far. So obviously I think I drew this maybe yesterday, day before yesterday. I drew it around about here, maybe. I think I must have drawn it about Wednesday, talking about the fact of the idea of us coming down, finally getting past this low. So again, remembering the idea that, okay, cool, I don't care what we're doing on the 4 hour, the general move is that we are coming downwards towards this low in this and I know it's getting messy, just bear with me, and I know it's getting towards this area where we've come. I don't know why I have it drawn there. Whatever, I don't care. We have the move down, and then we obviously have the lower high, and then we are coming down towards the lower low, and then we're going to have a lower high, and then we're going to have a lower low. That's the general. Obviously, until proven otherwise, or until reason otherwise, that is the general idea. So, basing it on that general idea, I would want to see SERP go upwards, because of the fact that we've come to, obviously we have support area here, we have the gaps or whatever you can look at here, but mainly these candles downwards for this candle downwards for these two candles upwards, which print past the high here, which then allow us to find this area of support. Obviously you can see the midpoint here used really nicely for this low, which obviously then gets come upwards, and then we dip past it here, and then we see come upwards. So we're still kind of eating into this support point here, or coming into the support point a bit deeper, but just ignoring that idea as not only is it the midpoint, but this whole general area is just a area where you want to see buys, or is okay, this is a good area for a discount relative from the high to the low. This is an area of support. So basing it on that, we are in this area of support on the high time frame, and we want to see it leave this area upwards. And obviously basing on the idea that we've talked about the high to the low, and then producing a lower high, or lower low in this case, and then doing a lower high. All these things combined, we want to then look for reversal in this area. We're on the daily right now. I'll go back down to the 4 hour here. And actually what I quickly want to look at is the daily, is just looking at the daily move from the high to the low. Obviously we have our different areas on the way downwards. I could probably delete some of these areas. It's getting a bit messy here. You know what? I'll delete some of these areas because it is just getting a bit messy. If I need be, I can go back and redraw some of this stuff, but I've looked at it on stream before. You guys know what I'm talking about. I think that's all the stuff there. Okay, so we can then, and then obviously we had these areas up here. I guess I could probably look at, I'll delete this one as well, just to get out of the way. And then we have this high. I'll delete the high as well. Okay, I just want to get it a bit cleaner. Okay, I know it's not super clean, but just a bit cleaner. So obviously, again, basing that idea. Now I should probably draw from this high to this low, but the idea is, okay, we want to do the most recent high to the most recent low on the relative time frame we are having this move on. So the high to the low, and obviously we came down, came upwards, and came down again. It's rough. It's not just a simple like this. It's not great, but the idea is, okay, we didn't really print past this low. We also didn't print past this high. So Yeah, so I'm just looking at this as okay. Whatever, this could be a resistance area, but regardless, let's just look at what we have here, which is the idea we have this most recent highs and most recent low, and we want to see it come back upwards to do a lower high, in theory. Now, if we have that idea, and we have that being used, we can then look at, okay, where's the actual value we should come above and start to look for a lower high, which is going to be 44.85. I just drew it on the side here so it's not that messy and wasn't all over the place. I just want to have this here as a kind of a guide. Now we can use this as an idea of, okay, where should we aim for then in previous price action. So obviously we had invert gaps back here which came upwards and found resistance and come down. So obviously we have resistance areas in here. If we go to the 4 hour, we can see what's been used and what we're doing. So obviously we had this whole dodgy area, we had this gap, we obviously come to fill it, and obviously we came back upwards above this high and then came downwards, and you can see we then use this area as resistance. So this is a valid resistance area which has been tested before. As you can see, we come downwards and print through it, and then we come back upwards into this line here. I don't know why I'm so far away. You can actually see this here, obviously in the sense that we had a small gap area here, with this area here. Obviously we came into it, we had these highs here, we came above all these highs and then had a finally dump downwards, and obviously you can see then this now forms that resistance point. We then can look for an entry on this. Obviously, I'm not saying we're looking for an entry, again this is previous price action, but the idea that we have resistance area, we have this formed and we come downwards, so we have resistance there, we have a reason to stop there. Just looking at different resistances in the internal price action we had, not looking for external lows, just looking at this, this side of the curve. We have this side of the curve in terms of a relative move. Obviously in this case, on the 4 hour scale, if we're looking at a reversal being, okay, we've printed past this high, we're doing a higher low here. So we have low, we come upwards, we've printed past this high, and then we are doing a higher low here, and then we come upwards. We're then looking, this is now the external side, this is now the internal side. But obviously in this previous price action, we're looking at the idea, okay, this is internal. So these are all internal, and then the previous lows are external. So then we're looking at what we have in this move, especially now, if we are coming upwards on the upper end. These are now external, but we can use previous move as these internal areas. So if it's previous highs or previous gaps, more importantly as well. But anyway, so we have that there we could pay attention to. Now that is obviously conveniently, that is above equilibrium, so we have that as a potential area to focus on. If we go to the daily quickly, I want to see if we have anything on the daily as well. Well, obviously in the daily we have the gap here. We came down 2 candles upwards to fill the gap and then a massive dump downwards, and obviously you can see this should then be a resistance point, and you can see we kind of come upwards, back up into it, and just slightly missing that midpoint at 46.2, about 46.15 there, and then come downwards. So this is a resistance on the daily. So this, it's a whole stacked area here. There's more intricate areas on the lower time frame, but you can clearly see that we have it on the daily here as well, with this massive area which does sit pretty much above equilibrium. So we do have reason to stop there as well. In this, obviously coming to 44, but more importantly about that midpoint at 46. Obviously that 4 hour area here at 46.5. So we have reason to stop. So I do think SIRP will continue to go upwards, towards finding a lower high as we go upwards. And again, but as I say that, and this is what I was saying for the past 3 streams in terms of time frame, aligning the time frame with when things are supposedly supposed to go upwards, and the wider time frame in terms of the weekly and what we have going on there, and the idea that at 38.5 wherever it was for the weekly, or just below this low, which is about 38.3, maybe 38.2 on the MEXC pairing, or the MEXC exchange chart, we can see we only just got below that equilibrium. So technically on the weekly we can now start to look for a major reversal to look for a high. And I know that is an extreme high, and this won't just be a 2-day thing, this will be a longer term thing, but in the sense that, even though on the daily right now we are looking at the idea that we should see a lower high and go lower, and I do think we can do that. That is more than valid. Again, we have different areas on the daily as well. We have these two move downwards and then move upwards, and you can see we retrace into it, come upwards, retrace back up into this high here. So we do have previous support lower. So I'm not saying we can't go lower. I'm just saying we do really want to look at the idea that we want to find a stopping point at some point soon for SIRP. So obviously that'll be something to really focus on. But as I see it right now, especially especially on the 4 hour. Really looking at this quickly. I do want to move on to Bitcoin because again, I have 36 minutes and you know how much I talk. Just really want to give a quick look at you know how our reversal happened. Obviously, we are below that point. We want to see as soon as we get past it, we want to see reversal. We came down, came upwards, failed to print past here, came upwards, printed past this high, came down one more time, didn't print past these lows, took this low again one more time before we pumped. Obviously, on the basis that not only have we failed to print past these lows, but we've done a print past these highs before we've done this low, and then we've come upwards. This is a daily order block here as well, just to point that out. You can see we used that here quickly as well. We had a massive move upwards, with a daily order block and a gap here, so we tickled into this area, came up one more time, printing past that major high on the 4 hour here as well, and then that kind of, we then slowed down really hard actually. So obviously from this area coming upwards, and then these print downwards within this candle. So this is now kind of a resistance area, rough midpoint around about there. You can see we kind of come up back upwards into it. These are now propulsion blocks here as well. Come up one more time, come downwards. This candle will be a propulsion block as well. But again, it's not like you can have 50 resistances and they will all sit. But in general idea that, okay, well, we have this candle resistance around about midpoint here. We have this resistance here with these massive down close. So this last up close, or the candles which get up closed through. So basically this singular candle here, and obviously we draw this across as well. You can see we come upwards and come downwards, and then finally drawing this across as well. We can see we can have this candle as well, and you can see we don't even get to that midpoint of that one. You can see we form it in this down move, and then we come back up into it, and then come downwards. Not only that, but we also have this inverted gap here, which we filled within this move here, and obviously we come down and use this. But more importantly, now that I'm yapping about that, we did have this singular candle. The reason I say 4 hour to 1 hour is because this is enhanced on the 1 hour, or I've made it higher up on the 1 hour, because we had this candle here, which you can see as well. We as soon as you printed through this candle here, or that low with this candle, this is now inverted. We then came up into it a bit more. We came up into it here, and obviously we came downwards, so that obviously inverted. So we found a reason to use this, and then we dumped downwards and printed through this low. So this was a order block on the 4 hour, but I want to quickly go on the 1 hour to see if there was any reason to see it a bit stronger. Now with this, we had this gap here in this individual candle. You can see obviously that was the 4 hour, you know, set of moves upwards and whatnot, and then we had this move downwards here. So during that singular candle which goes, we can see we used that low really nicely there as well, and obviously we came down from that continuously. So this marked out area here is it was a previous gap we formed, which then we pumped upwards. Not only that, we did have this main gap. So this was just the initial area which I saw, which sat in the midpoint of this blue area, which we see we used initially, but then we came upwards, found resistance one more time, and now we're coming downwards. So I'm not saying we're going to hold this. We did have this massive area here as well, so we can come deeper, and we are trying to get deeper here. But you can see we've wicked past this low and haven't printed yet, and now we're starting to go upwards. So what I could maybe see is the fact that we've used this low area here, and we haven't quite printed through that low. So potentially, obviously on the 1 hour we have, so again it depends on what time frame is you know, is your main focus for the trend, if you will. But just looking at the 4 hour, which is kind of mainly where this TA is going from, we can see we kind of have this move here. We had this area which was a previous kind of resistance area, came upwards, found resistance, and then finally came below it here. So we had this inverted gap, which obviously sits kind of within this area. So if we were to have a retracement, if we were to base it on the 1 hour, for example, and look at this on the 4 hour, we did have a bit of resistance there. So I reckon we maybe could stay in this area a bit longer, but I do think we should see some support points soon, if we are on the basis that on the 4 hour anyway, you know, we've had this move downwards, and obviously eventually come upwards to print past this high. We are going to want to do a higher low here. So as long as we don't really get past this main area, we should be fine for 36.70. So we should see some support point, especially if we fill this gap area here, and then obviously start to come back upwards past this high and aim up towards certain areas over here, maybe 47, some of these order blocks here at the 4 hour, as we get above this area to do a lower high, in theory anyway. So obviously we'll see how it goes. I do need to move on to Bitcoin now, so we can see obviously how it's going. I will try to be quicker. I know the first coin I seem to ever cover just seems to be the one which takes the longest, so I will try to be quicker. I'll kind of, obviously this has been a massive pump. The main area, we again, if it wasn't for the meddling order blocks, is what the precursor of the stream, my subheading for the stream, if you weren't for those meddling order blocks. So this is a common occurrence I have on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Syrup, well, obviously we wanted Syrup to go up anyway. Bitcoin, Ethereum, Syrup, not Solana, and that's why Solana's, I think, in a different scenario. The reason Solana hasn't seen new highs yet is because we haven't had that major support point. So obviously, major support point, Bitcoin on the weekly. Again, we talked about this for quite a while. It's like, oh yeah, I want to come into this a bit deeper, but it did not do that. So you see, we printed here. We then, as soon as we get printed past this high, that is, pretty. That's pretty kind of set in stone. Okay, cool. This might not be brilliant for Bitcoin, and obviously it wasn't. We found support here in this area, and then we pumped, and then we came up, and I don't know how many candles this is, but we came up 16% in about 10 days, which is quite a nice move if you're a bull, if you will. Obviously, we had this resistance area here. We tickled above it. Didn't quite. Well, we printed, but not really a major print. But we did come past this high, so we did put in a new high. For Bitcoin, we came past this high and it came down, and even the weekly we haven't printed yet. Obviously, we still have 3 days and 5 hours to print, but going to the 4 hour here to get in a bit more detail. So again, massive move here, really just getting through everything here. We had this resistance here. Obviously, we did technically use it, but similar to how we had with Bitcoin or with Ethereum quite a while ago anyway, it was just us coming to fill it, and then we came down. We had our own support on the internal, came to use it, and then just pumped again, coming past the high, just super strong. But obviously, we can then notice we had a move upwards again, and importantly with this move here, I think it was, where was it again? I think it was on the 4 hour. This might actually, no, Ethereum was the one where we failed to print, but obviously in this one we can see we did the same thing here. So high, print through, come down, high or low, move high again. Obviously in this case we then just about moved past the high here, came upwards, took the high, didn't print, so obviously that's kind of a precursor. Oh, we might not be doing great for Bitcoin right now. We failed to print above this high, so we came upwards, failed to print, started to print downwards. Obviously not technically, we can go upwards, come down, do a high or low, and then come upwards again. It's not necessarily a thing where it's like, oh yeah, we're guaranteed to print through. So again, we're going to the 1 hour, bearing that in mind. On the 4 hour, we had that move downwards. We had obviously the high which took this, and then obviously candles downwards which printed through this. We had a consecutive move downwards which prints through not quite this candle but this candle here. So then obviously we can draw this area as the main area here, slightly missing this midpoint there, but still using it as resistance. If it goes to the 1 hour, we can try and enhance it a bit further here. Now what we can see, we have these candles. You can see it enhances a bit better on the 1 hour. This is what I did on Syrup as well. So if we draw this low here, we can see this is an order block. So we have this up close and then these sets of down close. So it's the up close candle or consecutive up close candles which come into a point of interest, and then it's the down close which take that candle. But it basically is the general concept. So obviously in this case we can see this is a point. For example, why isn't this one a great resistance area? Why didn't we use this as a resistance area? Well, obviously number one, we didn't actually print through the candle. Number two, we didn't come to anywhere of importance. So there are periods. So for example, this one. This candle hasn't come into an area of interest, but we did print through it. You can see we came upwards, and then we printed through it. But then we just came past it. So this isn't necessarily a strong resistance area at all. But obviously in this case, if it's a gap or a previous order block or previous line or whatever you use as resistance, in this case, obviously it will be the previous high as well. Again, a good area to sell. Then you can start to focus on this. We have that up close, and then we have this down close, which really print through it here. And you can see we pretty much come back to it really nicely then. But in terms of the main print, where we come downwards and then come upwards one more time to find that major resistance, and then finally print through this low on the 1 hour with these massive down close candles here. With this move, we can see, okay, we then know we are printing through this. So obviously this is the low here, so looking at that. But obviously with this as well, we can see we can enhance this on the 4 hour to bring it forward. So again, we had that resistance on the 1 hour, we came up into it, and it came downwards. So we have this green candle. Obviously this on the 1 hour anyway, you can see it's an up close, so technically on the 1 hour you would draw it here, but obviously on the 4 hour it's all the same thing really. It looks better on the 4 hour because you see we barely print at it, but you can see again up close, find that resistance, and a massive pump downwards. So this area here is resistance here as well, but it starts at that line, at that line here. So that also is resistance, so then we know that's resistance area. We also had a gap which sits in this resistance area as well. So as soon as we come into the resistance area, we see this gap area. So basically, we're targeting, for example, the start of this gap. Again, the first gap, or the first down close, which print through this low, which actually starts us in this move down. Because again, we've only just come from an area of us coming upwards, but then we have that main take, print downwards, and then we finally use resistance here. So for example, we did have resistance here, and we did actually use let me draw it a bit better actually. So this candle was technically resistance as well. Let me draw that low so we can just see it starting that low. And we did have this massive gap. We did come up one more time though. Again, I think this is more so the balance, and I talk about this a lot in terms of the balance between why you should stop going up versus why you should stop coming downwards. So in this case, like, okay, well, we've just come past the all-time high, I believe was this. Yeah, we've just come past this all-time high with from here, and then we've had this move upwards and then this move downwards, prints through here. This is a resistance. Yes, this is a resistance. But we've just come to fill here. We've just, in this move, we've had this massive move downwards, and we've filled support, and then we've come upwards. So, and again, obviously on the 1 hour, we can see it a bit clearer here. We print through this singular candle, and you can see, yes, we did come upwards, and we did have a down close candle. We did see resistance, but it wasn't a major issue, if you will, because obviously you can see on the 4 hour, even clearer than the 1 hour, is we have this massive candle upwards here as well. Obviously, looking at the idea that we have these areas here, so we didn't actually use this initial move upwards as our reversal. We did see support and then actually continue back upwards. So deleting that, obviously, again, going one more time, do it again. Again, you could, I suppose if you're trading this, and again, obviously hindsight is beautiful. If I was to trade this and get stopped out, it's either going to be this one or the next one. And again, if everyone thinks like that, we'll have 10 moves upwards, and everyone thinks, oh, this is the high, this is the reversal, here we come. But regardless, talking about the idea that, regardless in this case, what do we really have here? Again, we did have a small gap, I suppose. We didn't really have much here, it wasn't really much here. We've already used this gap. We didn't really have a major gap. We didn't really have a major, support point in there. Maybe there was something on the 1 hour in that move. Not really. We kind of took this low and then came upwards, so this could have been a bit of support point here. Obviously, if we draw that cross to see if it worked, we can see we've formed it and then came down into it and then came upwards. So technically, we did have support. We did use it technically. Yeah, we did come down and find support in this area, but it wasn't really to the extent of what we had over here. Obviously, we did find support, came upwards, found that major resistance to do our lower high, and then finally came down. So, great. Anyway, that's a lot of yibba yabba for not a lot of TA. So, finally found resistance. This was... What was this? Oh, yeah, that was the gap. So, yeah, I'm going to delete that for now. This line... Okay, that's the major... so, that... Boom. Okay, cool. So, I just want to kind of clean it up a bit. So, we have the resistance here. I'm going to label it. I like to label them because I don't... it's just very messy. Technically, this is the 4 hour, and it was also the 1 hour. So I'll just do it for the 4 hour even. There we go. Perfect. So we have that, and then we obviously were coming downwards, aiming for this low. So we had a previous area here, which we did use, come down, came upwards again, but we are on the way downwards. So obviously the idea being, if we are to come downwards and continue to go downwards for Bitcoin, which again, considering the move we've had, and considering how little retracement we've had, I was gonna look at, oh yeah, well, we're gonna have these excuse me, we're gonna have these retracements, here. Oh yeah, we're gonna see high to low, come upwards, come down, come upwards. Yes, but I don't really care about that, because I care about, we know that's gonna happen. What can we do about it? Well, if we look at the daily, we had a tickle here and a move up. We did print past this high, so technically we should look at retracement somewhere here, but it's going to be really horrible price action if we've had a high, a low, and then obviously we failed to print past this. Print past the low, a high, fails to print past the low there, come upwards, barely printing past this high. We're going to print here, we're going to come upwards. Obviously, if it's pump turbo, this might be a thing, whatever. But anyways, just basing it on the idea that if we want to look for a retracement for this, it would be somewhere below 117459, which is basically in this gap here as well. This candle also was the one which printed us through this highs here as well. So I would expect us to want to come downwards for Bitcoin. That is something which I think it makes sense. I don't think this is something out of the ordinary to say. So I do think we want to see us come downwards. I don't think this is going to be like this is going to be a major support area or anything like that. We did have have this previous high. This area was resistance, obviously the order block, which we had. Obviously, we tickled past it here. Again, massive pump here. So coming downwards, I would expect it to come downwards. Obviously, we'll probably see some sort of support in these areas here. Depends on how we come down, depends how drastic we come down, depends what we do when we come down. But I would expect it to want to come downwards. I think that makes sense. 117, 118 at least coming down towards this area. Again, equilibrium sitting about 117.5. So somewhere at least coming quite deep into this gap area as well. I think for that, I want to see, do we have any major support areas or anything of anything in that regard. I would probably go to the 4-hour in this case. What do we have, I suppose? Actually, I'll go to the daily. So in terms of the daily anyway, what do we have? So we had this this move down with this gap, move upwards into this area, and then come downwards. And then we've printed past this and reversed it. So this could be a support area here. If we go to the 4-hour to look at this a bit closer, obviously, we then came to that order block on the weekly, absolutely just way stronger than anything we saw on any of the other time frames part of the weekly. So drawing that out for the daily here, which is this candle. Looking at the 4-hour, we did actually use it as support. You can see we formed it, obviously, on the 4-hour, regardless, we formed it as well. Technically, on the 4-hour, I probably would have not looked at this candle. It would have been a bit higher, but obviously on the daily, it is that singular candle. So looking at that, we did find resistance coming into it, and then obviously finally reversed it, taking this high, and then finding support in it, and then coming upwards. So we do have support quite far down in these areas, but this is 114. I don't really want to be looking at this as too low of a support. But saying that, we would have a support point in this area. So I will draw the top of this candle here as an area just to focus on. What else do we have here? We did have this inverted gap, so we could have the high of this be an area for this low as well. So we do have something into this gap pretty deep here, which could be marked as an idea for a support point. Interestingly, actually, what I've only just seen is we had this high, we moved past it, and then we had this pump downwards. So this is actually going to be an area of support and of resistance. As you can see as well with this, we had this low for this candle, printed through it. You can see we did use it as resistance here with this candle. Again, if we zoomed into this move here, obviously this would have been that low from the daily. You can see we did use it quite nicely. So we do have an idea of a support point a bit higher. I want to find the highest support point we can potentially find. Obviously, lowest resistance, highest support. So deleting all this crap and then drawing this across. Actually, I'll draw an area instead. Make it look a bit better. So we do have something. So we have something sitting here. We have this candle printing through this high here. So again, that is our reversal in theory. And that also being a previous order block, now being a breaker, obviously moving past this low, finding resistance. And now we've also taken this high, could be a support area. And I'm not saying it's going to be a stopping point and it's going to be, oh yeah, we're going to see a high again. I have wanted lower, obviously, for Bitcoin. Will it go up one more time? Will it not? Obviously, this is the balance. Obviously, it's pumped over. It's all these time frames, and I have been saying for the past 2 streams before this one, I do still say, oh yeah, lower than 109, lower than 108, 107 obviously being down there. But I do need to bear in mind the fact that we have, when it comes into October time, this could be the area we come up with. So, it's one of those things. But you can see midpoint of this, below equilibrium, we have this gap here. So somewhere in this area, I definitely think we can come towards, which is about 116 at least. So that is all those words I just said, all those words in that massive string to talk about one thing. So that is what I will leave it off with for Bitcoin. I'll draw a ray so we can just see the midpoint. Let's just draw on the midpoint, 117. I'll draw 2. Last time I did red, it went wrong. So let's just good omen ourselves here and make this a green. If it's not going to be red, it's going to be green. So there you go. That's the area here. I would suspect anyway. Obviously, the 4-hour, we're going to see all these gaps on the 4-hour. It's going to be so many. It's pretty crazy move upwards. I think, regardless, I do think we're going to want to see that it's moved downwards. I think interestingly as well, it's like, okay, we had this move downwards in this candle coming into this weekly order block, and then we had this move upwards, and then this candle gets printed through here. So this is now a propulsion block. We come upwards, we come down one more time into this support area, and then pump upwards. So technically, this candle at 100, the consecutive down close is going to be a support point. So technically, we have this down move, this up move for a down move for an up move. This is also propulsion here. So what I will draw is a ray here in black for the potential weekly support. And again, we can come deeper. So for example, this was the weekly support 108.9. We came as deep as 107.2. So, you know, it can come deeper than that. But again, you know, I will make sure I don't fade weekly supports ever again. So yeah, we do have that 118. So 118 to, you know, 116 is probably very similar to 109-ish to 107-ish. So yeah, that makes sense. This whole area, I will say, this 2k area, I could definitely see valid reason all the way in between there to find support. So let's move on to Ethereum. I will be quick now for Ethereum. So obviously we had support for Ethereum. So this is the thing about Ethereum and all these things. Bitcoin was the biggest baddie. Again, obviously on the weekly we did have that support, and this is what I'm saying, and this is what I did say with Ethereum, and why I don't know why I didn't say it for Bitcoin, but I did say it for Ethereum. We did have this weekly order block with this gap, which obviously we came to come past this low. We did have daily order blocks and fair value gaps here. If it goes to the daily, we had this down close candle to the up, moving upwards, obviously printing through this as well, which obviously we found support at, and we had this gap here which started on the daily. So this was a support point. Again, we used it perfectly fine. I talked about that. The idea was we wanted to see resistance into this proportion block here. Obviously we did find a bit of resistance here, came down and then pumped for it. Fine, I'll hold my hands up. So again, looking at the idea that we had the high, we had the low, we had the high, printing through it, we had a higher low, looking brilliantly right now, and then we came upwards and then found resistance, and then we pumped through here. This is now, okay, cool. So not only we printed through here, we printed through here. So again, obviously on the idea that we're coming upwards, we failed to print, we've come downwards, we should do a lower high and then come downwards. In theory, and now again, it's October, and I made this mistake last stream, I made these mistakes over the past streams. It's like, oh yeah, now is the time we go down. So then we pump up to 124k. You know, from 104k, we've gone up 16% in 10 days. So I don't want to make the same mistake again. Obviously, we did come from the weekly order block, but again, this is relative to what Bitcoin's done. And if we expect Bitcoin to come down quite deep, relative to what Bitcoin's already done, we haven't come down that far. But with Ethereum's case, we have come, you know, pretty, you know, again, 24%. We have actually started to come down to the major areas on the daily anyway. Again, on the daily for Bitcoin, you know, the gaps were down here, but in this case, we've already come into these areas here. Obviously, came into this one here, came upwards. Obviously, order block here, came up to find resistance, come downwards, coming to this gap anyway. Obviously, in this case, from the highest to low for a retracement, a perfect area is about 4488. We then came as high as 4760 here. We did have this 4-hour order block, which we have used previously. We had these two up close, which obviously took this high, and a massive print through this area here. Here, obviously, we drew that across. We found resistance here. We've already talked about this resistance anyway. Found resistance here. Obviously, continuing just to hold that as an area of resistance. This also technically is isn't really much of a proportion block. We didn't really print for it properly here. We did come for it, so technically yes, we could argue this is a resistance, but mainly using this main 4-hour, and you can see we came to it pretty nicely there, maybe 0.4% above it. Really nice support of resistance there. Massive reversal here, printing through all these gaps, barely even tickling up into this area here as well for Ethereum. Again, obviously this being down close for the up, obviously you should maybe expect to see support, especially coming from areas like here. Obviously we had these, obviously we did have two candles, but it's mainly this singular candle here, this being the midpoint-ish, obviously coming upwards here. We took these lows, not really a major area here, I won't actually lie, but still used it nonetheless. Came upwards, came down to use it. So obviously these down close to be resistance. This candle gets printed through, or this candle gets moved through, and then we have a down close. So not really much of all these three. It's mainly this singular candle. So drawing this singular candle across. Drawing from the low anyway, we can see we kind of came back up into it. So we have this main area. Even if it's not just that area, let's just draw the actual consecutive down close candles. And we have a gap here, which this move prints through this low. So again, reversal idea. Obviously, we have the move upwards. And then we have this massive print coming through this low. We want to see that lower high for the reversal. So obviously we have, not only do we have the gap, we have the midpoint of the resistance on this gap. So again, looking at 4524, 4553 of the midpoint of this resistance, being obviously we have this breaker block plus this gap here. So obviously you come into it and then trickle downwards, coming into this proportion block, obviously finding a bit of support. Will it be long-term support? Will it be you know, be all end all? Okay, now we're going back up towards you know, 4,960. Probably not. Again, I've wanted Bitcoin to Ethereum to come downwards. I've wanted it to come towards 2,000, whatever it was. Again, we talked about it down here. We had this weekly strong order block in this gap here. Again, weekly order block in this gap, move upwards. So you know we've already kind of come into a weekly order block here and come upwards one more time. Can we do it again? In the idea that we've had this weekly order block move upwards, weekly order block move upwards, weekly order block support, reversal, you know, reversal again, boom, boom, gaps here, weekly order block, and then obviously finally found that there. So we have this move, you know, massive move upwards. We want to see that low for a high move. You know what I mean? So it's like, will we see this? Where we're going to come to? What we're going to do for Ethereum? I do want to see that move down regardless of what's going on. I know things have gone up 16, 23% in the last 10 days since I've streamed, but I don't want to just ignore what we've been talking about for the past however many months it's been. So currently sitting at that support point here. Also, this lining up with a fair value gap, which we've absolutely pumped through. So obviously drawing the top end of that, obviously really focused on that point here for this 426. Now I'm not looking at, oh yeah, well, we've had a retracement, we'll come below equilibrium, because we've had this reversal here. So it's really just looking at coming down for reversals, and the general rule of thumb being coming to equilibrium anyway. So obviously from there, it's like, okay, we've come to this area. We probably see a bit of a move upwards for Ethereum. Obviously, we had a gap here, come down, move down past this low here. Could we slow down here? I absolutely. This, you know, it might not be crazy to say we could slow down here. Obviously, if we look at the 4 hour, we've only just come into a major. This is a kind of, I would say, a major pump for Ethereum. Again, a major support area which we've had. Obviously, we did use the resistance for a time being, but was a major support area in a period where we weren't really moving too much. If we go to the 1 hour though, we can kind of clearly see, okay, main moves through, and then we had a little gap here, tickled into it, came down, main move through this with this candle, gap here, with this move upwards back into this candle for the move downwards. So that green low is going to be an order block here. So you can see we have gap here with an order block. So again, this order block is going to be literally at the top of this gap. As you can see, this is basically filling this entire gap here and coming to this order block here. So that is kind of the pairing. You don't want to do a random candle. They can easily work, but obviously you want to kind of pair your odds, if you will. So obviously in this case was quite an easy one to look at, where you have these green up, massive move downwards, obviously green up being into this down close candle, if not it being this candle which comes into the gap. But the general rule from anyway, regardless of how it formed, is going to be the up close candles through getting printed through with the down close. So during that gap, you can see we tickled on this order block really nicely, and it came down past this low. Great, normal price action, normal downtrend. So we've had this low here. We want to see a lower high. So what do we have to focus on that? Well, again, gap here, green up candles, massive move downwards. So technically this whole set of candles is going to be resistance. Yes, this is going to be resistance. We could see it on the lower end, we could see it higher up. Obviously, if we go off rule of thumb where we go from the high to the low and look for a above equilibrium, we can see we tickle into these areas quite easily. So drawing that out, we can see we've only just tickled into this equilibrium here. So technically we can look as soon as now we can see that stopping point. However, the difference between areas like this and areas where we are now is the fact that we've hit off a order block, or we're in this higher time frame order block with we've only just tickled into this gap, this line being this this gap we have on the 4 hour. So again, there's a bit of a difference between here and here. So not saying we have a wider, a higher time frame reversal, but if we go to the maybe to the daily here, maybe not daily, we don't really have a lot of price actions to really focus on here. But in terms of, okay, well, we have the high to low, a general rule of thumb being equilibrium, and then we have this move down to move low. We didn't come to equilibrium and then came down one more time. So if we extend this to the low here, we obviously still haven't hit that equilibrium. So the idea is, even though I want to look for reversal and a stopping point here for Ethereum, it could be a scenario where we've tickled into this area, found a high to a low here, and Ethereum, it could go up a bit higher towards into this area, a bit deeper, if you will, before we see a move downwards, actually coming past 4264. So that might be a bit too positive. I might be a bit rose-tinted glasses here or anything for Ethereum, but I think it is a valid thing to say. So yeah, in terms of Ethereum, I do still think wider time frame thing. I still want to see it go down. And obviously we can't ignore the fact we have no November pumps or whatever. But I think I don't want to concern myself with the week by week basis. Obviously, I have concerned myself with the week basis on SERP and Bitcoin and whatnot, but I don't want to concern it too much. I think it's safer to just talk about the current time frame. for Ethereum and just really, focus on what I can slightly get more right, which is going to be potentially retracing for a higher low and then coming downwards and whatnot. As we continue for Ethereum. But again, in 4 hours, we're going to be printing this candle. We might sit in this area a bit longer. Obviously, print this candle into this area. Come on up one more time upwards towards 4. So, and this makes sense. Candle by candle basis, it's like we can print gaps, absolutely. But, especially in these cases where we have this move upwards, we have this massive down close, we have this little move upwards, which moves back into this area. Because on the lower time frames, these candles are going to make up trends. They're going to make up gaps on the 4 hour and the 1 hour. So coming into these areas, looking at it on just a singular candle basis, it makes sense where we have a massive down close where we can have a green candle which comes up with, let's say towards 4413. Now, obviously saying that, the major retracement would be around about 4610. Now, there is this order block here. Again, we have used it here for a portion block. So we could come up into this area, top end about being 4510. So again, I could be wrong on this retracement. Absolutely, I could be wrong. But I do want to see it retrace upwards a bit more. This could be a slight bit lower towards 4.5, or we could go down even more into this gap to hit 4211. This might not be the end of it. So now that I'm saying, obviously, I'm saying this gap or this order block can sit at 4211, which is also the midpoint of this gap area here. So this might not be the end of it. We can see that we could see that 1 hour retracement right now, and what that would mean for the retracement if we came a bit lower would mean this equilibrium comes lower, which means we can see maybe this gap get filled and come a bit lower. So obviously that's still meaning we have a lower low in theory. Obviously, let's say we came to this area, a lower low, and then continue downwards. So we could maybe come down a bit more. So that 1 hour continuation downwards could still be in effect, regardless of we are at a 4 hour support point and a daily support point, which we formed back here. So we do want to, obviously, I do want to really focus on that. I don't want to just willy nilly say, oh, we're coming down. Here we go, $2,000 for Ethereum tomorrow, because obviously, we do have reason to stop coming down completely. So, that's why I'm thinking a bit longer term. We want to come up a bit higher instead of just having a little retracement and coming downwards, which obviously we more than happily can do. But I do think within this area here, we want to see that stopping point for this, consecutive move we've had going downwards, where we see an actual major higher low here before we see more major move downwards. Because again, this has been in kind of a normal move upwards, we've kind of come upwards, and we've only really just started that move with a tiny move here, really a tiny move. We haven't really had that major retracement towards we haven't had that major retracement up towards 4,600. So again, expanding this downwards, I would want to see it come to 4,500, let's say, which I think is a good target. But again, we will see how it goes. I do still think we have support here, and we do want to see it continue. So we'll see how it goes. Solana, I will quickly look at Solana. I might not look at I looked at Syrup. I probably won't look at Sui, CRO, XRP, anything. Obviously, I've talked about the idea, CRO maybe having that retracement to come down still. Obviously, Sui came up to come down still. XRP came up to come down still. So Solana's case, and again, we didn't really have a major, and this is why, think about what Ethereum did. Again, to be fair, obviously Ethereum also didn't come past all-time highs. I don't want to ignore that. But in terms of what Ethereum has done versus Solana, it's like, I suppose Ethereum and Solana are kind of similar versus Bitcoin. So I would say maybe with it's not really like they're too different in terms of Ethereum and Solana. But every single coin has all had or have all had a weekly order block which they've hit off of. So again, life is a journey of learning. It's like, my time is spent, your time should be spent learning, whether that be small things to learn or big things to learn, you know what I mean? So I think for me, it's just another thing to learn. Just use the bloody higher time frame support points. Simple as that. So anyway, weekly support. We had each Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Syrup, or maybe not Syrup actually, because we had, to be fair, we did have a weekly order block, but it was mainly that low we had for the downtrend. But Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana all had weekly order blocks, and they all hit off their weekly order blocks really nicely. So I will take that forward with me. I say I carry this with my heart on my sleeve. I will take this forward with me. So this being the order block I was talking about here, down close for this up close here. Obviously we had this, you know, this gap area. We filled this area here, but mainly being the down close for the up close, and also the fact that we had this down close for the up close, which had this down close for the up close. So we had these down closes coming past this low, this being an order block, and then we came down into it with this candle, and then came upwards, this being a propulsion block, this down close for the up close being a propulsion block, this down close for an up close being a propulsion block. But they're all order blocks, you know what I mean? They're all order blocks. You know, there's still support points. So that was why we had this weekly order block. And then we did have this here. And again, this is the thing. If you have 50, if you have every single down close into an order block, be a propulsion block and a propulsion block, and continuously finding order blocks on the way upwards, it's not going to hold every single time. You know, it's not, otherwise we go up forever or go down forever. So again, in this case, for this one, it's like, yes, okay, we did technically come into it, you know, we did kind of technically come into it, but we have found a higher support point here, and you can see we had this gap, we technically printed through it, we've come up to fill it here, and now we're having a down close candle, or we're having a down move candle here. So really rough weekly TA. It's like, okay, candle up, candle into higher time frame or 4 hour gap here, printing a gap here, printing through gap here to finally find inverted gap, next candle over, printing upwards to fill the gap in the printed, and then down candles starting to be down close. So over the next 3 days, if we continue to go downwards, which I can expect, this would be a down close candle through this down close candle, or this up close candle, which would then mean we've had a reversal of this gap on the weekly, we filled it, and then we're coming downwards. That is my weekly candle by candle basis and analysis, if you will. So going to the daily here and looking a bit closer. So we do have this breaker block on the 4 hour. Now, what is that? So we have this these, you know, tickling candles. We have these two get down close. What's this line here? I think this line was an actual interesting thing, which I don't know if I have drawn. Yeah, so we have this. So basically with this this breaker block. Well, actually, now is an order block, to be fair. Now I'm looking at it. We had this move up, move down. We had a resistance, came down, came upwards, found support in this area here. And obviously, then we reversed it. So it's a breaker block. It's an order block. Who cares? It's a resistance point. Now, you can see with this, against the 4 hour, if we look at the daily here, you can see it a bit tickly, a bit better. But on the 4 hour, we kind of came upwards. We did use it for we did kind of sit in it for quite a while. I will not lie. But on the 4 hour, I mean, wherever we're really looking here, you know, it's realistically just the main area. We did come to the top of it. Whatever, it was a sell area. It wasn't, you know, tinkle toes perfect or whatever you want to say. But we did have breaker block sitting with this gap. Now, it wasn't a pinpoint. It's like, oh yeah, we stopped exactly at 253 or 235 even. But we did stop. We did, you know, had this massive down move. Slowly came upwards to fill this again. High to low retracement. Equilibrium being here. Blue area being here. Again, in the blue area we had breaker block and we had a gap. So we did have reason to stop in this grey area. Perfect. Obviously, but just below equilibrium, it was this gap. So it's either going to be this area at the low or this area at the high. Now, what I will say, you know, the reason why I think we stopped in this main area for sure was obviously because this gap, yeah, we didn't really have much behind us to stop. Yes, we did have, we had an inverted gap here. We could use this. Yeah. But mainly it was, okay, we have gap plus resistance here. Now, you could argue, okay, cool. Well, what about this move down into this gap and then this move downwards and then reversing it? This is a great point. And this is me talking to myself here, and this is, yes, a good point. Yes, this, you could also argue this line was the start of the resistance on the daily, and we used it there. But on the 4 hour, if you zoom it in, it is closer to there. That is just how it was. So yeah, anyway, I suppose I can go to the 4 hour and look at it, you know, being, oh yeah, well, we have this move down and then move up, and not really, whatever. We have resistance, we had reason, we stopped, whatever. All right, just be happy. So in that scenario, in that example, and you know, it's just going forward with this idea. It should be a scenario where, okay, we've had this move upwards, we've had this massive move downwards, obviously printing through not only this, we have this massive move upwards, massive little tickly little thing here, move upwards, failing to print past the high, move downwards. Classic. And we talked about the reverse on the 4 hour. 2 streams ago, 3 streams ago, massive down move. This isn't a retracement. This isn't just like a this isn't just the little retracement from the expansion. This is the expansion downwards. 4 retracement here, and this is a big retracement, yeah, but in terms of the actual expansion, massive move downwards. Obviously, not only putting past this low, but this low, massive candles being produced, and resistance up here at 235. Came up to find resistance there and fill this gap, and now we're starting to come downwards. So yes, we do have gaps here, and yes, we will probably see some support at 215, 214. You know, bottom end of this, you know, weekly area. We can see this, but I do think we are going to be on the way down towards 190. However, again, we are in October. I don't want to be negative. This is what the chart is, and this is the thing. It's like I talk about what I see in the chart. I might miss something and be wrong, and this is the thing. This is why I say I can be wrong. And you know, it's just, and there's people out there who'll say they're never wrong, and people will follow them, and they'll post screenshots on their Discord or whatever it'll be, and then they'll post a bunch of trades, and then they'll just delete the ones which didn't go well. And it's like they'll show this facade of being wrong or never being wrong, and that's fine. You know, they can do that. And I'm seeing so many people blowing up Twitter now, selling some concept for like 12 grand. There's this guy who's selling some crap for 12 grand, like a mentorship, and he's just this absolute con artist. And he's like, and he's never shown. Obviously, I mean, I haven't like opened up Mexi and shown you my trades, but it's not like I've never gone through the charts live, and I have been right and I've been wrong. And this is how, you know, if it was right every single time, you know, I'm on a boat. I'm richer than Bezos. You know what I mean? But it's the balance between conceptual time alignment of, you know, the year, and when bull runs and bear runs and all this sort of, or when the bull market starts and the bear markets and all these sorts of things, versus what I see on the chart. So I can talk about what I see on my chart and still have a conflict with what the time frame should be. So again, the time frame should be right now. We should be seeing us come upwards and go up to $300. You know, why Solana not going to $300? What is going on? So yeah, again, I could be wrong, and that's you know, and that's something I want to hold for, you know, for a confirmation. But from what I see anyway, especially, is we have a move. You know, we have these kind of, and again, this was really rough over here. But if I'm taking focus on this, we have this massive expansion for a low into this resistance from the 4 hour, coming to the midpoint, came up to fill it, and then massive expansion downwards from this. And again, bear in mind, where are we? You know, where are we for Solana? Ethereum was different. Ethereum came above this high and printed. Ethereum is different. But Solana, we printed through this low, slow retracement, and now we've hit into, and again, I know I was saying blue area at 236. I know I was talking about 220. I was talking about gaps at 228. We came higher. Fine. Came higher. 4 hour resistance here, came up. What do we want to see? We want to see reversal. We want to see us come down to here. Now, I'm not saying that happens right now. We want to be careful, you know, and again, bull market, and I don't want to ignore the fact that we can't be in a bull market right now. But what I have on the chart, and it could be wrong, and this is why it's like going forward, if I get something wrong and I look back and I find I'd rather get something wrong and then find out why I got it wrong than get something wrong and go, no, I didn't get that wrong, you know, I'm great, no, this is never wrong. I'd rather look at the reason why I got something wrong and take that forward, because that is growth. And because if you lie to yourself and go, oh yeah, well, you know, I'm great, I don't need to know, it's just random. It didn't go right because it's random. You know, it's not because I'm wrong. It's just because it's random. You're not growing. You know, I'm growing because of the fact that I'm aware that I got it wrong. I am trying to figure out the reason why I got it wrong and take that forward. And I think that's the most important part. Anyway, we've come upwards, and the idea is, anyway, we find this low, or we find this lower high, and we come downwards. And on the idea, we found that high finally, and we're trying to get past some of these lows here, and we're going to do a higher low here, or a lower high. And then we've, again, same thing we did here. Again, we came upwards, we found that resistance, we had this low printed, we printed through. We came upwards, found resistance, we have this low. It's the same thing we did twice. Look, we have massive expansion. We have this low here. We printed through it in this move. We come upwards, find resistance in this gap and this breaker block. We have that low. We came down, came upwards one more time, printed through it, and now we've obviously came upwards one more time, found resistance, and now we're coming downwards on the daily. This matches what we're doing on the weekly here. If the daily continues to come downwards, and yes, we do have these individual areas, we probably will see some support. But on the weekly, the idea is we've had the move upwards, we have the move down, printed through the gap, come upwards to find resistance, and then we should come downwards through these candles. So if we follow that suit, that would be us finding the move upwards, and then obviously us doing this lower high and then coming downwards. I will say we haven't had I mean, yes, we technically have, to be fair. I mean, in terms of okay, where's the I mean, this has kind of been a singular line upwards. So what I will say is, you know, we have this massive move. So I think for me to be safe about us coming downwards a bit further for Solana and seeing a bit more aggressive, I want to see it go past 191. So what I will say, and I will leave it off with this, because obviously I know I'm 15 minutes over nearly. I would be a lot happier about my my sentiment of Solana going down a bit more comparative to what we have across the board if it was to get past 190 and really see that move. Because if we really just look at the daily and squint our eyes, where's the actual move upwards, where's the actual move downwards, you can really see it's this, like the major moves. And yes, we do have these little diddy moves here, yes, and technically the last low before the move was this, and yes, we have printed through it, and yes, we are doing a lower high, and yes, we are coming down, fine, that's what I'm pointing out. But to feel even safer and have more strength in this, it would be this. This is what I'm seeing. This is the major low, major high, major low, major high. So for me to see strength in this, we have this major low. We are potentially doing a lower high here, potentially. And then us coming downwards. I want to see us really come past that 190, print through it, and then retrace again for that lower high, and then start to come downwards. We are in this order block, this weekly order block again. Obviously that has been the main thing I've been talking about here. So but again, this is what I've been talking about on the weekly for a long time now. We've had we had these moves upwards, move downwards, whatnot. We moved upwards, came down for a higher low here, obviously filling this gap. We came upwards, we failed to print past this high here on the weekly, wicking past it, massive expansion downwards, printing past these lows, printing past this low, and then we've had a slow move upwards. We haven't printed past this high, slow move upwards, or a slower move upwards in terms of the gradient. Anyway, this is a massive expansion. The gradient was very sharp, but the gradient here is very slow, a lot slower than this is. So seeing that retracement upwards, in theory seeing a low somewhere, and then in theory coming downwards, obviously. Anyway, so that is it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I will not, even though we've come up with 16 or 23% in 10 days, I will not ignore the fact what we have on Bitcoin, what we have on Ethereum, what we have on Solana. I will not delete it, pretend like it didn't exist and go, oh look guys, oh yeah, we've gone up to 124k, 160k, here we come. Because we want to see how it goes. I'm not going to shake it out. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, I'm not going to look at CRO, SUI, XRP right now because I am over. I started streaming like 3 minutes late, all these sorts of things. So we'll see how it goes. Obviously, thank you all. Appreciate you all for being here. Okay. Let me read the chat before I end the stream. Let me read the chat. I actually haven't spoken to you guys. I just realized I haven't actually spoken to you guys a single time for the stream. So I do apologize. Exactly. Yeah, well, exactly. It's like, and they'll say, "Oh, they've made 1,000 people millionaires." It's like, shut up! No, you haven't. No, you're LARPing. You're role playing as someone. You're role playing as someone who knows what they're doing. It's like, and the guy I'm thinking of, I can't remember his name exactly, but I've seen some, because I obviously on Twitter it knows, I'm in sectors of trading, I'm in different sectors of content, and obviously one of them is going to be crypto and trading and whatnot, and he's getting called out by everyone, and it's just like, how? And I think one of his tweets, it was like, he replied to some guys like, oh yeah, show your profit and loss in the last 7 days, or the last month, or last 6 months, and it was like 100 million. It's like, you're not making 100 million in profits. Like, what are you, like? He's trolling. He's trolling. And you know what? I might try and find the tweet and send it in Telegram so you guys know who I'm talking about. He genuinely posted a screenshot of 100 million plus profit and loss. It's like, who's making 100 million? Who's making 100 million in like a year? It's like, what are you doing? Like, who do you seriously think you're talking to? Like, this guy, he thinks he can post a screenshot of an 100 million plus profit and loss and think he can get away with it. Who's making it? I'm saying the same. Okay, I'm just end the stream. I'm sorry, right, exactly. And it's this thing, it's like, when I think about what I talk about on stream by stream, it's normally more right than it's wrong. And I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. And I enjoy getting it wrong, because it's, obviously in this case, we had an order block on the weekly. Every single chart we went up with, and I thought we were going to go down, properly go down, we had an order block on the weekly every single time. So, there you go. Anyway, I say around that, but unfortunately there are some out there claiming 90%. Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Thanks for everything. Always interested in you. You should have an advisor service. I mean, if people wanted that, again, this is the thing. If people wanted it, I can talk to you about what I know. And it's like, I'm not going to pretend like I've made this. It's like, there's some people out there, it's like, I'm the mentor of their mentor. It's like, shut up. And I think a lot of nowadays it's probably regurgitation of old things. But I mean, if people wanted me to do that, absolutely, I will do it, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, if people wanted me to, go on a call with people and talk about what I talk about, I guess, I would be more than happy to do that. But I can still refer people to information. Like I know Tito asked, and I just sent him a playlist of like stuff I've watched and looked at. So I mean, if people wanted that on an individual level on Telegram, I can just send you a playlist. Absolutely. But I mean, yeah, if people wanted a class, a starter class, absolutely. I'm trying to. I think is what it is for me is like, you know, obviously I'm not saying I have to be like, I don't know, Warren Buffett to actually teach people, but it's like, I mean, it'd be me knowing, I want to know that people actually want me to do it, for me to go, okay, I'll do it, because it's kind of been an echo chamber of, oh yeah, I should teach people. It's like, do people really want me to do that? So if people wanted it, I'll do it. That'd be a good idea. If people wanted it, you know, I'll do it, absolutely. But anyway, I will send that that Twitter link in, or the X link even, in Telegram, because it is a joke, and I think it's funny. You know, if people want to see it, it's funny. But that is what I have so far. Again, I do apologize, I didn't look at XRP, CRO, or Sui. I did have a lot to talk about. I have missed quite a few streams. Again, we've been trying to record in the trenches. We're trying to sort out timelines. The person we're trying to record with it is in America, and obviously I'm in UTC +2 or +1. Yeah, +2, bottom right hand side of the corner, +2. So the time zone's a bit dodgy to try and record. So the only time he could record with was literally 9 p.m, 10 p.m. My time, which was literally when we stream. So we've been trying to sort it out every day. It's been really hard to try and get a couple of interviews for obviously the series. Obviously, you don't know what Trenches is. It's basically a series where we try and talk to people who are actually building stuff and doing stuff in crypto, and not just some random people everyone talks to. Which trying to spread awareness about certain projects. So I think it'd be obviously good to do. I've enjoyed when we've had people to talk to. Obviously, KB, your tribute to this. I really enjoyed talking to you and obviously asking questions and actually being able to watch, you know, you talk about the charts. Obviously, in this case being, you know, I actually get to ask someone and they get to talk. So I really enjoyed doing that. So that's what we're trying to do. That's why I didn't stream for the past streams. But yeah, I'm kind of glad it's given me a lot of time. It's given a lot of time for the charts to play out and whatnot, and you know, get to the point where there's a lot to talk about. So I will probably be able to talk about a lot more coins next stream, as I've covered, you know, quite a bit of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and Syrup. So that will probably be Saturday-ish time. I don't know if we're doing anything tomorrow in terms of like a BC game type of stream, because obviously I know we did a Friday stream for the quiz, but I don't think we probably won't be doing that. So probably next stream will be Saturday. I think that's pretty much it. So thank you each and everyone for being here. Obviously, I know people leave quite early on the stream. I haven't actually checked Square once. I've just realised. I do apologise. Not really anybody there. But anyway, thank you. If you're on Square, thank you for joining on Square. If you're on YouTube, thank you for joining YouTube. Appreciate you all, each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of the week to Friday. Obviously, I will see you guys on Saturday if you're there. Shout out to you all. Appreciate you all. See you on Telegram. I will literally, in 2 minutes, I'll send that link. I'll go find it on Twitter. I'll send it in the chat area. So yeah, thank you all. Appreciate you all. See you Saturday. Goodbye.